Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park, sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
Portsmouth's upcoming summer transfer window is crucial as they aim to cement their championship status after narrowly avoiding relegation in their first season back from League One. John Mousinho's side brought in several new faces throughout the 2024-25 season, but there's still plenty of work to be done. One of their standout loan signings was Bristol City defender Rob Atkinson, who quickly won over the Fratton Park faithful. Mousinho has made no secret of his desire to keep Atkinson, and the feeling appears mutual. The 26-year-old defender recently expressed his enthusiasm about potentially staying at Portsmouth permanently. "To be honest, I'm not sure what's going to happen yet," Atkinson told the News. "I'll need to see how things play out with Bristol City. I've loved my time there, but with only a year left on my contract, that's definitely something I need to think about. There are quite a few moving parts. It's a bit nerve-wracking, not knowing what's next, but it's nice to be in demand. I know I'll land on my feet either way. Portsmouth have made it clear they want me to stay, which means a lot. I'd be over the moon to sign permanently, but I'd also be happy to return to Bristol City. The move could make sense for both parties." Atkinson has proven himself at championship level, despite injury setbacks in recent seasons. At Portsmouth, he'd have the chance to become a defensive cornerstone and senior leader, with regular playing time almost guaranteed. The ball is now in Bristol City's court. While they could use Atkinson as a natural left-sided centre-back option, potentially allowing Cameron Pring to move further forward, his future remains up in the air with just 12 months left on his current deal.
We have to bear a few things in mind over and above the general clamour to bring Rob Atkinson back to Pompey for another season on a permanent basis. He won't be cheap. He cost Bristol City over £1 million when they bought him, and they're not going to kiss that goodbye without there being some sort of compensation in the transfer fee, so won't be cheap. We must recognise as well that John Mousinho is being shrewd in echoing the Pompey faithful's preference for at least one centre-half who is no-nonsense. And Atkinson is a no-nonsense player, isn't he? I'm not saying he lacks any of the other skills that are necessary to be a championship footballer, because he's obviously got the lot. But he's also a lantern-jawed, roll up your sleeves, get stuck in where necessary and win type of centre-half. We all know who he reminds us of, and so I'm not even going to mention the name of Sean Raggett. But we must also remember that we are now currently, assuming that we can remain reasonably injury-free, quite well off for top-quality centre-halves. It's now possibly our most profound position on the pitch. We must never forget that Bowat comes back at some point and is said to be quite a formidable individual. And then, of course, we've got Shaughnessy, one of our all-time heroes from the title-winning season. And when he came back after injury, he showed that he still got absolutely everything that he had in League One, and he's able to do the same in the Championship. Regan Poole is a class act, nothing more or less than a sheer class act. So we have got potentially, if Atkinson comes, and of course it's looking increasingly unlikely, but if he did come, then we would have ourselves 5 quality centre-halves. And there's no shame in that, because it's such a crucial position on the pitch. We all know that. But whether we can successfully manage 5, unless, of course, injuries claim 2, or worse still 3, or worse still, I'm not going to say 4. So there I didn't. And we have to revert to playing fullbacks or central midfield players as centre-halves, remember? Then we are sorted out in the call it the number 5 position. Whether they play number 5 or number 6 on their back, well, they play their own shirt number, of course, but people use these shirt numbers to say what the position is. So if somebody is a right back, they will be called a number 2, even if they've got number 23 on their back. You know what we mean by all of that. We've got 5 quality number 5s. And so let's look elsewhere on the pitch for how else we're going to strengthen in depth.
Socceroos manager Tony Popovic has ruled out including Portsmouth defender Hayden Matthews in his upcoming training camp in Abu Dhabi, as the young star continues his recovery from ankle surgery. The 20-year-old centre-back, who made a promising start at Pompey following his £1.2 million January move from Sydney FC, hasn't featured since injuring his ankle against QPR in February. The setback forced Matthews to miss Portsmouth's final 11 matches of the season, putting a frustrating halt to what had been an impressive start to his career in England. While Popovich previously showed flexibility by calling up Kusini Yengi in March, despite the striker having played just 3 games after returning from a lengthy knee injury, he's taking a more cautious approach with Matthews. The defender is expected to focus on his rehabilitation and rejoin his club teammates when Pompey begins pre-season training in late June. The Socceroos, currently second in their World Cup qualifying group, gather in Abu Dhabi on May 20th before crucial matches against Japan in Perth on June 5th and Saudi Arabia in Jeddah on June 10th.
Famously, or at least it's been said a number of times just recently, Pompey have a very good relationship with the Australian Football Association. Now, one wonders what conversations have been had in the wake of Kusini Yengi being injured not once but twice during international duty with Australia and effectively depriving his club, the parent club, the club that pays his wages, his services, and possibly knocking his confidence and his belief in his own body. We don't know whether those conversations have played any part in Australia, the Socceroos saying, we're not going to call up Matthews. Now, we don't know exactly what state of fitness he is in, but we have to be relieved that he is not going to get on a plane and sit there for 23 hours in the air, knowing as we now do that altitude flying, particularly the ascent and the descent, can have a destabilising effect on certain joint-based injuries. So we're relieved that he's not being called up. But whether or not that's in part because Pompey have said, we don't want this to happen all over again. What's the point of experiencing something without learning from it? And we have learned from Kusini Yengi that it's best that a player who is recovering from an injury or has just sustained an injury doesn't fly all the way around the world for 10 minutes and then get on another plane and fly all the way back. It doesn't seem to work. So any chance you could cover yourself at centre-half without our boy Matthews, who we're very fond of, and I think I'm not going to get too many brickbats for saying that we're comfortable with the 1.2 million that we spent on a central defender. That is a commitment, and I think what little we saw of him, we could see that we were likely to get very good value for money right there. So, have there been constructive discussions between Pompey and the Australian Football Association? We, of course, will never know, but whether there were or weren't, the thing has worked out well for Matthews and well for Pompey. Football League World are today running with this opinion piece.
Cardiff City's drop into League One is set to spark some major changes this summer, and Pompey's Paddy Lane could be just the signing they need to bounce back. The 23-year-old winger is still loved by Portsmouth fans after lighting up their League One title charge last season. With 12 goals to his name and some electric performances out wide, he was one of the league's most exciting players to watch. Things haven't gone quite so smoothly since stepping up to the Championship, though. Between patchy form and a knee injury that cut his season short in January, Lane's future at Pompey isn't as certain as it once was. With Cardiff likely to lose several attacking options, El Ghazi and Mieti are out of contract, while Colwill, Tanner and Willock might be heading for the exit. They'll need to rebuild their wide options. Lane, who caught their eye during his Fleetwood days, could be the perfect fit. Despite his championship struggles, he was starting to find his feet before getting injured. His New Year's Day goal against Swansea showed glimpses of what he can do at that level. For a League One side, Lane would be a real coup. His work rate, clever movement and knack for cutting inside to score make him exactly the type of player Cardiff need to mount a promotion push.
Not exactly clear what they're saying. Maybe they don't quite know what they're saying themselves. Are they suggesting that he goes there on loan or that we try to offload him? Lane is a wonderful player, and when he arrived, and for some time after he arrived, the whole ground was all a jangly whenever he was on the pitch and whenever he got the ball, because there was always the sense that he might do something audacious, and we like audacious, and do something audaciously effective, and we like that even more. But he seemed to just recede a little bit. Whether that was because of the burden of the transition from League One to Championship, which obviously is a big step up. And, you know, he's a young guy. He is going to feel the whack of bigger men coming after him on the pitch, quicker men coming up, stronger men, more seasoned men, old men coming at him who know what they're doing, seasoned professionals, hard men coming at him on the pitch. He's going to notice that. And it may just have taken the top edge off his confidence. And confidence, of course, as in everything in life, is very important in football. But we would like to see him get back on his feet, because I don't think Pompey are done with him. And they shouldn't be done with him, because we signed him for very good reasons. Was it Glentoran he played for? Can't remember. Should do. But anyway, don't. But a player who brought something to Fratton Park. And do we want to see the back of it? I don't think so. You know, there's a thing in horse racing whereby some horses go stale or go off the boil, and they simply get moved to another stable. And as soon as they're in another stable, for whatever reason, I don't think anybody who trains horses really knows the reason, that horse gets a new lease of life. Is Paddy Lane a bit of a thoroughbred? I would say yes. Mind, in football terms, he's still only a 2-year-old, so plenty of development to be done there. Paddy for the derby. 33-1.